We know a lot about boxing. Well, I know a lot about boxing, but not nearly as much as our guest.
And you don't know nearly as much as I do.
Whatever.
You know him as the Let's Get Ready to Rumble voice, but he is a fountain of boxing knowledge. And we got a chance to sit down with the legendary ring announcer, Michael Buffer. We've been working together since September, but this is the first time we actually got a hold of you to sit down with us and talk to you. So I'm honored, obviously, I've been a fan my entire life, as I've been a boxing fan my entire life. It's easy for you to just come in and announce these fights, when these fighters work their whole lives for these championship fights.
Are you calling his job easy?
No.
That he's been doing for over 40 years?
That's what he said. It sounds like it.
It sounds like it, right?
No.
Hey, you just come and go.
What I mean to say, you make it look so easy.
Good cleanup.
Do you still get excited to announce a fight?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and we were talking earlier, and you said, do you still get nervous? I don't get nervous, but I get amped up. I'm a fan. Sometimes, when it's like AJ, Anthony Joshua in front of 90,000 at Wembley, and I'm like, man, I can't wait to get the introductions over because I want to sit down and watch the fight and just enjoy the crowd. And it's, just like when we were here last month with Canelo,
right,
and the atmosphere in the room, sold out Madison Square Garden. You have to love that stuff.
I mean, you've done so many fights, so I don't want to put pressure on you and say what's your favorite fight, but what comes to mind right away when you think about, wow, I had fun that night?
Yeah, sometimes you have great moments as opposed to great fights. I'll give you an example. George Foreman, he's 44 years old. He's fighting Michael Moorer for the heavyweight title back in 94, I think. Yeah.
90.
And he's losing every round.
Right.
I mean, Michael Moorer is like 29, 30 years old. He's just dominating the fight. And I had done almost all of Michael's fights since he was 19 years old. Knew his family, knew his kids, knew everything. And George is Big George, and I love George. And I'm like, my heart's aching because Big George is just being dominated. His eyes are swelling up.
He's about 42
all of a
years
sudden, 1-2, 1-2. An unbelievable right hand. Moorer goes down. And he's not, right away he's not going to get up or beat the count. And it was a moment, not a great fight, but it was a moment that was unbelievable. The sound of the crowd, usually a crowd explodes when a knockout or a knockdown happens. And in this case, it was like everybody went, oh! And there was that like fraction of a second gasp, and then the crowd kicked in. That's a great moment.
So what goes through your mind when you watch the fight? Clear to you, the A side won, right? But you get the card and it says the B.
Yeah.
What's going through your mind when you got to announce that this guy won, but you know the other guy clearly won?
There were a few times, and I can't tell you when, but there was one. It was many, many years ago, and I actually I said, "Are you sure about this?" And I won't say what state the committee, but I got a letter of demanding an apology to the commission for even suggesting such a thing.
But you didn't say it on the mic.
No.
Oh, wow.
Folks, I've got to tell you, I don't agree with this, but but there are definitely times where, you get a scorecard and they just got it wrong.
Did you always know that this was going to be your profession?
No, never.
But when you found out, when you realized, I could make money from this, how were you at home? Like, son, go to bed.
Well, your son is the one that encouraged you.
Yeah. My oldest son, we were watching the fights, and this is, almost 40 years ago. Ring announcer screwed up a split decision. When you have that drama where you can say "and new" or "and still."
Right.
And he gave the first two scores, and you knew who won without doing that A and B. And then,
God.
And my son, he was 13 at the time. He's like, "Dad, you could do that." And I'm like,
Were you always this fashionable?
yeah, I've been a bit fussy about my clothes. Even in high school, I would iron my shirts in the morning and make sure my pants had a crease in them. And sitting in class, I would always sit like this so that I wouldn't get a baggy knee.
Wow. Finally, we've met somebody worse than us. Finally.
Some people might know this, but speaking of early, childhood, you were adopted, and you didn't find, I guess, your natural birth parents till you became famous as you are.
Yeah, I'm a World War II baby.
Right,
and my mom and dad, he was in the Navy. They were 19 years old. She gets pregnant. He takes off on the USS Bennington to the South Pacific. And, you know, coming back a year or two later, they didn't really know each other, and so that marriage didn't last.
Right.
But when I was 11 months old, because my mom was, you know, single and everything, I went to live with foster parents, and no regrets. It turned out to be the family I stayed with my whole life until I went in the Army at age 20. And even though I was a real pain in the butt, they stayed with me.
You went in the game for the first time. You said you're not nervous now, but obviously you had to have some kind of nervous moments. Did you ever mess up like that guy messed up you was watching on TV?
Yeah, oh, I've messed up at times. I've done things wrong, some crazy ones. I'll tell you about it later, maybe. But the very first time I worked, I mean, I was so nervous. It was terrible.
That's how Ak gets all the time.
Yeah, well, I heard. Yeah. Somebody actually wrote that on the wall downstairs here at the garden.
I actually taught him how to relax.
I think a turning point, nervous-wise, was my very first time here at Madison Square Garden. Roberto Duran was fighting Davey Moore. It was a main event, June of '83. And it was one of those sold-out Madison Square Garden nights where everybody who's anybody was at that fight in the world of boxing. And I was bringing them up, and you know, past champions, and Muhammad Ali was there. And I'm bringing them up, and the tradition always was they would come up and do this and get back out of the ring, and the next guy comes in. And so as they started to come up, I just said, just stay in the ring. And I lined the guys up on one side. And I still remember it. And I said, you know, he is known as, and perhaps he really is. And they had a great sound system. I said, the greatest of all time. It's like, sort of like a Muhammad Ali type of voice. The 3-time heavyweight champion. And he comes up and goes right down the line with all these champions. And the ovation just kept going on and on. And I really believe that's a turning point for me, never being nervous again and saying like, you know, I love doing this job. And it was only like probably my 7th or 8th time even in the ring, but first time here at the Garden.
And you give him some credit for your famous trademark,
I do.
Let's Get Ready to Rumble. You got it from Ali saying, what?
I'm so pretty, I'm ready to rumble. Rumble, young man, rumble. And then Boudini Brown, you know, and they used to go, float like a butterfly, sting like a bee, right?
Yeah.
And rumble, young man, rumble.
Is there a fantasy fight right now, 2 active fighters in the sport that you can't wait to see clash?
Oh yeah, there's a few of those. I mean,
Give me your top 3 fantasy fights.
naturally we all want to see AJ fight either Tyson Fury or Wilder. I mean, you know, there's 2 right there. I'd like to see Canelo fight either Demetrius or the Miracle Man, Danny Jacobs. You know, with those 2 scenarios of the heavyweights and the middleweights, undisputed champion. That's what we all want, is to see somebody with an undisputed championship.
What does the Hall of Fame mean to you? And when it comes to
Yeah,
boxing?
a real honor. I always used to get mail from the Hall of Fame, and you know, for like, you know, this weekend or something or coming up, this and that. And the actual letter that informed me I was going to be inducted sat there for like 2 weeks before I even opened it. I was like, holy! Yeah, it was quite a surprise, and it was quite an honor.
How much longer do you think you can do this?
You know, it's funny. I'm 74.
Wow.
And
Can we get a round of applause for that?
actually,
Absolutely.
thank you very much. I actually thought about retirement at the end of 2019. And then, you know, I had started working for Eddie Hearn in Matchroom and just love working with these guys. And they were telling me, say, we got something special coming up that you're, you know, we're going to have to talk to you about it soon. I'm like, and Dazn and Matchroom, you know, a joint project, and they made it exclusive. So just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in. Yeah.
Thank you for sitting down with
Thanks,
us.
guys.
Pleasure.
Always good.
Pleasure.
Always good.
Always a pleasure.
And you're from Brooklyn, and
That's
he
right.
makes believe he's from Brooklyn. Oh, I'm just kidding.